Ruben looks like he wanted to.
Yes, I want to ask the audience, how many of you saw this movie, Killer Clowns from Outer Space? Huh? I know it's a word. How many of you are afraid of clowns? Yeah, a lot of that. Yeah, it's interesting because, again, that was another Hollywood production. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is it goes back, and you see, you look at clowns, and yet in a more positive light, but then you see the more sinister that's being used by the media. But going back to a question you mentioned earlier about the internet, my organization, we rely on data, because with that we get a lot of cases that are reported through our MUFON database. Last year we've had over 6,400 cases of sightings reported. 5,000 more were reported here in the United States, and more than 1,000 from other countries. And by sharing that information, I'm finding out through, like Dorothy had mentioned, disclosure. I mean, other countries are releasing their files. They're working with their local organizations, Canada, England, France, Brazil, Argentina, Israel, world. All these countries, and even more that I haven't named, are slowly coming out and releasing these files. So we're seeing a whole shift there. The other countries, Spain, they have over 7,000 cases reported in their database. Italy, 21,000. Yeah.
Wow, really?
So there's a lot. So the internet could also be used for disinformation as well. So we have to be very careful with that as well.
Understood. Well, listen, we had gotten a late start, so I'm going to have two more questions for the panel from me, and then I'm going to open it up to all of you for probably about a 15-minute Q&A session directly to the panel. And question I would ask next plays off of that a little bit, but moves more into the one area that we didn't talk about, which is the mind, the shift as it pertains directly to the mind. So my question is, and I'll start with you, Koyote. Do we believe as humans, as we're going through this shift and evolving, that we're gaining, or is it possible, I should say, that we're gaining greater powers, our psychic abilities, intuitive or healing abilities, because of this shift?
Well, it ties into the last question as well. I see more and more children coming to me with already tremendous intuition, telepathy, tremendous ability to call in elemental forces, otherworldly type of intelligences, and cognitions, a lot of knowledge that comes through that. The massive amount of books, internet information, conferences like this, keep promoting these topics that used to be just a generation ago taboo. In the 70s, in the 80s, the discussion was, could it be possible that we can communicate without words? And now it's an everyday topic. We have been visited, they're not coming, we've been visited for thousands of years. And the children come with something in them that was not present before. The cautionary note that I bring to this is the tremendous distraction that powers that obsession with telepathy, obsession with prophecy, obsession with any kind of even energy healing. The obsession with that can produce a tremendous distraction from what is the true purpose of your incarnation in this life. All of those are toys. And I understand that in the new era, as the children that we are, we're going to be playing with those toys. Because let's not forget that we have a serious job to do here. And the job has to do with knowing ourselves, with transforming ourselves. Now the children that are growing up pick up on all our neuroses, everything that we have come to accept as beliefs, as fears from the previous eras is being transmitted to them. They reflect that to us. I have my daughters and any child that comes in contact with me, the first thing that I do with them is I don't teach them anything. I teach them no religion. I don't teach them anything about God, about spirituality, about their powers. What I do is I let them play. I let them play, and I explore with them whatever it is there to explore. I never told my daughters not to watch any movie, not to play any video game. When my youngest daughter was having problems in school with math, and they were giving her more and more homework, I just said, no. Just play video games. She played video games, awoke
Just like
immediately,
that.
just like that. Now, you're right, children are coming more and more fears because their eyes are open and they see things going on. They come with all these powers. And what I do with them is I let them guide. I let them awaken. I let them play.
Yeah, I didn't realize how much I didn't know until I had a son. So that was,
Exactly.
thank you. Dorothy, you wanted to? Sure.
With the children, I teach energetic alchemy, and I just had the privilege of working with the youngest Reiki master ever. She was 8 years old, and she was amazing. She came to my class. She had never done anything like this before. That young lady is fearless, and the only time that she had anything to fear at all was when her parents were afraid. So it all depends on the parents and the friends, because I also have a young lady who was like 4 years old, and she fell and busted her lip just wide open, and her mother was screaming and crying and said, let's get to the hospital, she's going to need stitches. And the little girl went over into the corner and was looking at her mother like she'd lost her mind. And by the time they got in the car and they went to pick her up, there was just a bruise on her lip. She knew how to heal herself. There was a little boy who lived across the street from me who could materialize and dematerialize until someone told him it was impossible. So our children are coming in at a time when the veils are thinner. They're remembering more. So many of my clients now are in their teens and in their early 20s. And oh my God, if I had had someone like me to talk to when I was their age, my life would have been a lot less interesting.
Used to that. No kidding. Thank you, Dorothy. Okay, one more to wrap up my series of questioning. Darshini, if there's one thing we should all do to prepare for and gauge this shift, what would it be?
Good question. Okay, just one thing. Quite frankly, the only thing I could see is to be open to everything. And that means, I hate to say it, bringing up fear too, because you have to embrace your dark side as well as your light. And yes, it's lovely to be, oh, I'm so spiritual and I love everybody, but quite frankly, you know what, that's not life. You have to embrace everything. Be who you are, and you'll find that just looking introspectively and looking inside you, you'll find the answers. You all have them, and basically that's very nutshell.
That's wonderful. I feel like we should cue that song Man in the Mirror on the background. Tashia.
And I just wanted to add something to that. I'm sorry, I have a big voice, so from singing and teaching and stuff all my life. But anyway, I just wanted to just hit on just the youth piece. And one of them, and today while we were reading, I too had a young man. He must have been like 8 or 9 years old. And he sat down at my table today, and I had my 6,000-year-old oracle and my master level OB. And he said, I got something to tell you. I just took the oracle and set it on the table. I was like, go ahead. And he proceeded to read me. And I was like, let me give you my little offering. Let me went in my purse, you know. you know. And I just have to agree with Dorothy, but I do believe that some of us are filled with fear, and there will be people who are filled with fear, but I don't believe it's all of us. I think that there are some of us who have done enough light work on ourselves that we can overcome fear, or we don't allow it to drive our lives. And I think that's the piece. It's not just about not feeling the fear, but not allowing, because like every time I get on a plane now, I had that conversation in my head, okay? But I don't allow fear to stop me from doing anything. And one last quick 30-second story is about my grandson and Nanina Ra's grandchildren and the way that we're teaching them. And what I'm seeing in communities of African descent is actually a shift that I think is coming from the healing that we've done around the enslavement of African people. Because there's been so much healing work with the Underground Railroad and so much work that has been done. So I see an actual different shift among children of African descent, a lot of children of color and consciousness, not just black children, not just Latino children, Asian children, Native, Indigenous, but children of color and consciousness, so they can be of all ethnic identities. And the key is if their parents, she said it, are doing the work and are teaching them to do the work like we're teaching our children to do the work. But my grandson, we have a ritual, an annual ritual where we have what is called a bembe, which is a celebration for the Orisha, and the drummers come in and we sing the songs and we call the deities down for the purpose of healing and bringing messages. Well, part of the ceremony is that there's a huge big altar, and all of the priests who are present, the elders, we greet the people who are coming, who are not initiated, and we do blessings on them. And they lay out before the shrine and we touch their shoulders and lift them up. And we say, as we lift them up, it is our Orishas that are lifting them up. Well, my little 5-year-old grandson came up to the shrine. And I was like, oh, it's so cute. And I went up to lift him up and do his prayers. He said, nope, I lift myself up. And I just said, yes, don't touch him. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. That little boy said, I'm lifting myself up. And that's what I see. That if we can instill that spirit in our children, that spirit in ourselves, that we each do our piece to creating a more sustained planet, that we can, in and of ourselves, foster a shift beyond anything our human eye could imagine. So I just want us to sit with that tonight as we leave this session. What can we do to make the shift take place in a more loving and harmonious, non-fear-based way? What can we do?
Thank you for that. It's wonderful. How lucky are we to have this panel tonight? Let's, please give them a round of applause. Thank you for that.